Welcome back, everyone, to the Ashen Trial Season 1. Here we are at Week 7 of our group stages. This will be the conclusion of our group stages to finalize everyone going into our playoff bracket. Here we have Mercy taking on Invictus. We have Pedro on the side of Invictus, killing on the Dredge. I am your caster Monarch. I am joined by Emerald Point, and we are starting off pretty slowly right now. Pedro just seems concerned with using some of the remnant teleportation and all that good stuff to get the Nightfall set up. So, Emerald, what are your expectations going to this match? Do you think Invictus will maintain their spot as the currently only undefeated team in their group?
I do think so. I mean, I think Mercy's a very talented team, as we've seen throughout the league's play. They've, shown their skill. They've won a few games. They're also doing very well in the group. But I think, Invictus just has that confidence, that experience that I think will take them to yet another win here. Dredge is a very interesting set. A lot of skill expression to show on the killer. A lot of comms on the survivor side. Where are you going to stealth? Are you going to get those totems? Where is Chase going to be taken? All very important in the Dredge set. But we see a very, very early down here from Pedro. Going to probably get a pain res, hopefully, if he's got the time to go up there to that top hook. But yeah, I mean, I think Invictus will probably take the win, but I'm very excited to be here. So thank you for tuning me in here, man.
Absolutely, thank you for joining us. And I think that I've said this a bunch of times. I think the tech choice to bring pain res is such an interesting gamble on this map. This map is a 2-floor map, so pain reses have a chances of just spawning not where you want to be. Chase on the Thai Lion, kind of caught between a Dredge, a Remnant, and a Pallet. He drops the Pallet, has to run to a library. Not the safest in the world, especially when Pedro just holds the W key down. A hit through the Pallet. Doesn't seem like Pedro's concerned with keeping up Chase, however. They're just going to take the tag. Remember, every injured person makes that Nightfall timer get that much faster. Unhook onto Bandit coming out now. Merc nearby for the support, but Bandit seems to not need it. They are at a God Pallet at the Infirmary. However, the Infirmary Pallet's not really a God Pallet if the Dredge knows what they're doing. Except for the Remnant, gonna get a TP hit onto Merc. Now Nightfall descends upon Mercy.
Yeah, definitely.
Pedro keeping chase onto Tyloni, and now everyone on Mercy is just injured. Who does Pedro decide to go for next? It's just going to be a chase onto Outer. Outer doesn't seem to have anything at their disposal. That's going to be another down for Pedro.
Definitely, and with a couple downs here at 5 gens, and he's found the stealth here on Bandit, which is going to be his tunnel out. If he can get that hook in very fast, it's going to be a pretty early tunnel out potential here. Going to take the chase towards the bathrooms, I believe, here. He may still have this one pallet here, but again, the Dredge, as we see right here, has that ability. You don't want to drop the pre-drop the pallet against the Dredge here. And even with that break and that exit, they may not make too much here. They have this sort of filler pallet here in this room here, but they're going to take the down. We're going to see a second hook here at 5 gens, but Pedro aiming to put the pressure continuously on the survivors here, going for the slug, going for a little bit of downs, trying to take the set dominantly here. And it looks like we're probably going to see another down here. We've got 2 slugs at 5 generators. Monarch.
That's pretty disastrous for the Mercy team. I would like to point out a very interesting play by Bandit. Bandit actually has any means necessary on, so he used any means necessary on the down pallet to fake the vault sound and force Pedro to go back, which is pretty interesting tech play by Bandit. But yeah, no, this is a very disastrous situation for Mercy. Bandit already at death hook. Everyone on Mercy is injured. The fact that Thai Lion is actually down on the floor. So now you are so stretched thin by Mercy. And you haven't even popped a gen yet. Ruin was cleansed a bit ago, but it was working on gens. Like, Ruin was up during the duration of Bandit's second-ish chase off the hook, meaning that there was still gen progress being lost. Now Bandit is off the hook. Pedro seems to continue chase, but Pedro has a locker nearby for the teleport. Does Bandit have anything at the disposable? I don't think they're able to make this Pallet in time. Pallet was dropped earlier when a TP onto Bandit. That's just a tunnel out at 5 gens already.
And I wonder what was going through the survivors' minds there. We saw Unhook sort of in the killer. I'm wondering if perhaps they didn't know where Pedro's position was, because the Unhook came in very close in Pedro's line of sight there. So very good for him there that he was able to see that and get the tunnel out fast. And not only the tunnel out, but 3 injuries, as I believe you mentioned. So we have a ton of pressure here. Pedro's completely controlling the game right here. I wonder if we'll see a really high gen count, which would be a great start for Invictus here. Definitely to go into the next trial, you know, feeling very confident. We're going to see another pain res here. We've also got Eruption. Yeah, we've lost Ruin, but which will be great for the survivors in the 3v1, but we've still got a lot of perks to put on the pressure. We do see the reset come in between Ty Lion and Merch as well there, so survivors going to have to take it slow, potentially stealth out the Nightfall here in the trial just to, you know, reposition themselves and tackle with a game plan.
Absolutely has that reset going on, but it might not matter. Chase back onto Merch. Merch has a filler palette, needs to play a bunch of 50-50s. Can you win? Remnant on one side, Dredge on the other. Where do you go? You just send it to the window, but you can't make it in time. Merc is going to take the tag. Ty Lion rotated around 4 outers on hook. Now outer back on his feet, but Pedro one step ahead, finds Ty Lion, the unhooker, and it looks like Chase continues on to Ty Lion. Ty Lion, I don't think has any pallets. Once again, this God pallet dropped by Bandit earlier. Can make it to this filler pallet. Pedro's gonna swing through it. Ty Lion's not gonna drop it, but is that gonna cost her death? No, you have another pallet. Gonna get the stun onto Pedro. Ty Lion doing their best to just delay the down as much as he can. And Pedro is going to cut his losses and try to look elsewhere. Going to get chased back onto Mert. Mert, again, same dropped pallet from earlier. You have to win your 50s. Vaulting back in on the side that Pedro's in. That's going to cost you. That's going to be a down on to Mert, and the Eruption proc. Again, more gen progress is being lost by Mercy right now. It is just a game of attrition, and Pedro looks like he might come out on top.
Certainly, I think the Dredge is the perfect killer. That's why the Dredge is, you know, so powerful on this map. We know that the Dredge is not necessarily one of the most powerful killers in Dead by Daylight overall, but in competitive play, Dredge has a really, really great 4K rate, and that's just because of the map potential that he has. And we're seeing that with a lot of injuries coming in. The Dredge can, especially Pedro, with a player that is as confident, as experienced as he is, can really pick the chases that he wants to take. And with everyone injured, you know, the next down is only going to come in pretty quickly. But we do see the survivors putting up a fight. We're going to see another reset, taking it slow. That's what they have to do right now, because they have to be steady and they have to attack the gens with a game plan. But this is going to be another pain res, and as you mentioned, Eruption has been eating away at those gens, so we're looking at almost no progress now, potentially, on these gens, maybe a little bit on one of those particular gens that we saw the survivor on. I believe it was right here, yeah, at, I believe that's 11, could be mistaken, but going to control the hook a little bit here. We do see the scratch marks of a potential unhooker there. Going to take the chase, and we do have Nightfall coming in close. Resources are being depleted, still pre-dropping a little bit. I think the Dredge is going to take advantage of that, and we're going to see another hit potentially come in here, but, you know, Ty Lion, I do have to respect the plays, because when you're in a situation that they are currently present with 2 people injured, 2 people, you know, on one hook, and only 5 generators, or not only, but only 5 generators being still up, you got to go for crazy plays, because that might be the only way that you can win at this point. So you got to respect the survivors for putting in the effort that they are.
Yeah, absolutely. We're back to square one for Mercy. Everyone, once again, is injured. Pedro is doing a fantastic job of just spreading these tags across the board. Nightfall now descended upon Mercy. Pedro has the increased teleport speed. Gonna pop Eruption. Oh, this gen was so close to popping. That would have been the first gen to pop, but instead, it's just gonna be another chase onto Ty Lion. Ty Lion doesn't have a lot of resources to play with. This might potentially be another down. If it's another down, that's another Eruption. Remnant set up on the side, but Pedro, I don't think he meant to take it to that locker, or maybe he did. Kind of cuts off Ty Lion. Not gonna continue chase, however. First gen of the match will pop, but the damage has already been done. Look at the state of the game right now. Everyone injured across the board. Chase on to Outer. Outer playing around the window. Pull back inside. Chains it to the pallet. Pedro really needs to cut off the rotation to the window for Outer. Outer's just gonna send it away. Is that gonna be a down on Outer? Yes, it is.
Hopping in the locker just to delay a little bit of the Dredge's time, but like you said, the damage has definitely been done. This game is a little bit like what you might get when you describe Dead by Daylight to somebody who's never played the game before. Like, what can the survivors possibly do? against such pressure and such power from Pedro here, completely dominating the game here. We have a little bit of progress, but otherwise, not too much going on. They are going to go for the quick pull. I don't think that's a bad play at all, just to get that person off the hook and try and take away some of the pressure that Pedro has on them, because I was going to say, if that hook stays on there, if that survivor stays on that hook and then someone else is found, they're going to be in a detrimental spot, but that is not the case. Pedro trying to catch a potential rotation back to the gen. Really, really great game sense. We know that those survivors are a little bit desperate to try and get a little bit of a better win con for their killer, and Pedro knows that, so he's going to go back to that gen and catch them off guard, using that one of those last powerful pallets on this map. Just patrolling his gens a little bit here, making sure that that high gen count still stays. And we are into nightfall.
Nightfall descends once again. Pedro just teleporting around trying to catch anyone. A catch onto outer would be tragic, because at this stage of the game, if you want to push for a better win count, like you said, for like a 4K3 maybe, you really need all 3 survivors. Oh, but Pedro has found the reset. Yes, they have the god palette, but Pedro knows that they're stuck in that room. There's only so many ways you could possibly go around it. Oh, you are trapped. It's like fish in a goddamn barrel. Pedro goes for the short swing, not going to connect on the outer, but Pedro has a set side in mind. Another swing, gonna miss on the outer. 3rd time's the charm, and now Pedro has a couple different options. You can continue on to outer, or you can try and cut off Mert. Oh, but Mert's running straight to Ty Lion's gen. Ty Lion now has to play around Pedro. Remnant on one side, the Dredge on the other. Ty Lion just gonna send it, try and make it all the way to the other path, and be it down on the Ty Lion, and another eruption proc. But doesn't seem like Pedro's gonna take just that. Pedro's looking for a little more, using the teleporters. Every blocker trying to proc a little bit of the killer instinct, trying to look for someone else. Pedro, I think, knows that this game state is pretty much over if he can find outer. But can he find outer in time?
We'll see. Outer needing the stealth, as you mentioned, at all costs, cannot be found, or that's the end of the game. But we do see the reset come in, so it's potential that these 2 survivors together. Can we find the reset again? Pedro did a great job at finding it originally, but we're going to opt to just get our hook. I really like the plays from Pedro, because yes, he's doing really well and he could kind of just take the win, and even a 4K3, even a 4K2 would still be a great result. But no, they want the best possible result for their team, and they're trying to dominate and get that 4K4 here. So we're going to see the hook, but that was not, in fact, pain res. So we're saving pain res. So that's something to definitely keep in mind, that can come into play later in the match, or potentially come back to bite Pedro if gen progress is enough. I wonder where the survivors are. Are we on generators? We are, in fact, potentially on generators here. And we do see the unhook come in. Great communication from the survivors on the unhook, being able to get that whilst Pedro is away. But we're going right back for the injured survivor. We want a quick chase here with, I believe, Ty Line, or perhaps to find outer, because we know that if Merch is up there, that means outer had to get the save. But it seems we're opting for the injured survivor here.
Okay, it's on the Ty Lion. Ty Lion has to win your 50s. 150 already won. Okay, this is gonna die to the hand of Pedro, and that's gonna be another hook onto Ty Lion, with Ty Lion's death spot this time being a little closer to a pain res. I think Pedro's gonna opt for it this time around, with the information on the eruption, giving info to Pedro that now Mert is on a gen that is going to be a pain res. It's the last token of the match coming in. Pedro immediately knows where to teleport to next. He knows where Mert is, has to deal with the locker lock, so gonna delay his entrance just a little bit. The instant unhook onto Ty Lion. So now Pedro has information. Ty Lion and Outer are playing on that side of the map. Mert is on this side. Where do you go next? I think as Pedro, you do kind of want to stick to, kind of want to stick to this side, this 12 top side of the area. You know that both Outer and Ty Lion are death hook. Catching either of them, especially Ty Lion right now, who hasn't been reset yet, would be absolutely brutal for Mercy. But Mert has been caught a little bit off guard. This pallet was dropped earlier. That's gonna be an easy tag on to Mert. Nightfall descends upon Mercy once more. Pedro seems content with just a tag for now. He wants to hunt for a little bit more, has killer instinct, knows survivors are in the area. That's gonna be Outer revealed. He's working on top side. I wonder where Lion and Mert are. This could be an opportunity to reset, but that's also incredibly risky against the Dredge's Nightfall. Footsteps. He's caught one more. That's gonna be Outer getting caught once again. Does he have a pallet to play around? No. Can he make it to the window in time? It looks like it's gonna be barely enough time. Goes for the swing through the window. Gonna get tagged onto Outer. And Pedro, content with just a tag. He sees the killer instinct. He knows that Mert is in this area. He also knows that Mert has the piano pallet up to play. Mert needs to buy a little bit of time. Can you decide what the Dredge's gonna do next? Running straight into the remnant, but it's not gonna be enough.
Unlucky there. Almost seemed for a moment that they were going to be able to get away. I wonder, it seemed like Pedro is looking for one of the injured Deathhook survivors here, and he does in fact find Outer. We saw Outer earlier at the other side of the other exit gate when they were chasing Lion off the hook, but opted to go for the injury first. I think, you know, Pedro's just got so much confidence in this win that he was like, all right, I'm going to go for the injured survivor because I know I can end a chase. I'm not too worried about getting the tunnel out here, and I think we'll probably likely see a 3-man slug, and that does seem to be the case. We do see the reset come through, or the pickup come through on merch, so we know where both survivors are. We're just going to give a little tab to this gen just to get some eruption value to make sure there are no chances of getting that generator done. And then looking back for the reset, we do see some bloody scratch marks here. We find merch, but we're looking for Lion, I believe. And we do hear, I believe we hear no, we do not. We hear Claudette injury. Sometimes those injury sounds can sound a little bit similar. But we're going to take the hook. We're going to bring it into the 2v1 here. This is almost all but confirming a 4K4, which is a phenomenal win con to set up for your team in the next match on the Survivor side.
Yeah, this is all over. Pedro showing no mercy to this team, as that is an absolutely brutal 4K4 result. Another swing just confirmed the down onto Lion. Murked the last member standing. There doesn't seem to be enough progress. This entire time, Pedro has a great game sense on monitoring his gens perfectly, not allowing any of the gens to pop in his face, constantly pressuring these gens, knowing that Merc is on the other side. As be a clean 4K4 from Pedro. Absolutely phenomenal performance coming out from him. Knew exactly where to be at all times, spread the pressure very evenly amongst the survivors. This is looking like a very, very difficult task. I don't want to say things are over, but now you're flipping and you got to get a 4K5 on the Mercy side. So it's looking wraps. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think the only thing you can really do is try to play for the Tycon, right? But even then, that's still a really, really crazy result to get going into the next match. But either way, you got to do your best to play it out. We're going to see the lovely Mori here onto the Maurice. If you take my jest.
The Maurice Mori.
Yes. Horses are eating good today. We're going to take Jake in there, and that's going to be the 4K4, as you mentioned. You know, such a difficult win con just because the survivors, they don't need to worry about any 3-gen. They don't need to worry about any setup. They could leave somebody on hook for all they want. They could just get those gens done.
Absolutely. We're going to get a quick break as we swap the sides, and we'll see how Mercy retaliate. Stick around. We'll be right back.
And welcome back to Ashen Trials. This is week 7 group stage match here between Mercy and Invictus. We have Mercy here on the Killer playing Dredge on Midwich Elementary School. We have a very, very steep win con of 4K5. Pedro absolutely smashing expectations to a degree. As we know, Pedro is very, very confident in the Killer, but a 4K4 result was still phenomenal. My name is Emerald. I am joined by Monarch. We're going to be taking our first chase here in the courtyard, and we attempt to do a little bit of stealth, Pedro, trying to hide there in the bush, but we are going to take an injury and go into our next chase as we want to try to spread pressure across the map a little bit like what Pedro did, get those injuries, get that Nightfall cooking. We're going to take our chase onto Rocket. Definitely can be a very intimidating chase to take with these Invictus survivors who are very, very confident in their chase. What are we expecting here, do you think, Monarch?
Well, it's got to be a very difficult uphill battle. Pedro just in the middle. He may have a beamer. Mercs now found Pedro around the clock tower. It's not going to be a down onto Pedro. No, it is not. Almost looked like it, but yeah. No, Mercs has definitely got to get the ball rolling ASAP. Dredge is a very snowbally killer. Once you get a couple injuries, a couple on the board, once you start your Nightfall up. What is this game of Ring Around the Rosie I'm watching between Nightlight and Mercs? But Mercs really needs to get the ball rolling as soon as he can. That's some of that undying value, revealing the aura. Can they shot the Paladin in time this time? Oh. That's going to be a down onto Pedro. What is up with Invictus players dying on that Paladin with a reset?
Wow. And we're not only going to get that down, but we might potentially have 2 slugs here. Very unfortunate potential ping hit. But these survivors are just so fantastic at those check spots and winning those 50s, knowing exactly. Yes, we're going to see the first gen. Just knowing when and where, like we saw on the courtyard, even though Pedro was, you know, flashing the flashlight in the middle of the courtyard, he was still able to get that stun, so they know exactly what they're doing. But we are going to see down on the Nightlight. We're not hooking, though. I wonder what the game plan is there, Monarch. What do you think?
I think the game plan is to kind of just slug at this point, honestly. With the 4K4 Tycon, screw it, man. Just like get everyone on the ground. Make sure that no one can do anything. Like spread as much pressure as possible. I think Merc, like I said earlier, Dredge is a very snowbally killer. So getting that ball rolling at the starting to get the ball rolling is very important. And I do like the addition of Undying in this build. Like I said, Pain Resonance is kind of a bit of an unreliable perk, especially in a map with this weird of a hook layout. That's me Nightfall ending, Rocket still in chase. Is that be a swing? No, it is not. Swing not going to connect onto Rocket, not even going to go attempt for it. Rocket going to go literal loops around Merc, literally running laps around Merc. That is what is going on in this matchup. Rocket running back towards the runner, running back into Merc. That's be a down, and that's be a second gen of the match, which that is enough for Invictus to take the win here.
Yeah, definitely we see that second gen pop. So Victor's going to take this first stretch set, but like you said, you got to respect Merch to go in here and just attempt to do something pretty crazy to go for that 4K4, even to tie the game. So very commendable effort. You know, you got to respect that they're coming in here and they're doing it and they're giving it their all instead of just kind of giving up. So kudos to them for that. We're going to see the unhook come out here on to Rocket. That is Dan the man, as they say. We're going to see a body block here. Knowing that they have this pallet here at the exit gate, being able to body block safely, and wow, I mean, such coordination, such timing. The experience really shows because they're able to kind of wiggle around and get that body block from Dan there. Although we may see a down coming in here on the Rocket, losing the 50-50 there. Very rough pallet. So we are going to see a second hook onto Rocket here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one thing that this Invictus Survivor side really is strong at is altruism, and more specifically knowing where to be to help a teammate in need. That's going to be a third gen of the match popping, and that's just going to be Rocket on the death hook now. Mercs, Nightfall descends upon Invictus. Has the eruption now. Both Ruin and Undying totems were caught, so now it's only eruption that can prevent these gens from popping. Nightlight in chase now. Doesn't have the pallet to work around. Can he make it to a pallet in time before Merch gets the down? Has a window. Gonna swing to the window. It's not gonna connect. The window swing's not gonna connect. It could have been like a short swing or an auto hit or auto aim, whatever. And that's a grab onto Rocket.
Oh, we are found in the locker, so that is going to be a death onto Rocket. Pretty decent tunnel out with all things, you know, considered. Yes, the win con was extremely steep, but had that not happened, this is a pretty good position to be in for the Dredge. With that snowball potential, we've got Pedro caught a little bit out of position here, maybe a miscomm from the Invictus side. It's possible that with the win that they're kind of relaxing a little bit, and we're gonna see the down through the pallet.
Invictus when the game literally doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it's with the slug here. It's possible we might be seeing a 4K too. I'm not sure they want to let that happen, but it's very possible that we might see that coming out here. And Nightlight's just, you know what, we've got the win, so screw it.
Definitely a good bit of a morale boost for Merc, I guess. I don't even know if that's considered morale, but this is just kind of rude. But that will be all the downs on Merc. That will be 4K2 secured by Merc, which is a respectable result in itself. It's just sort of unfortunate. It's like when you have a really good painting, and then the painting you're comparing to is the Mona Lisa.
That is definitely a good way to put it. But they can't say that they 4K2'd Invictus here, so that is something that they can put on their resume should they want to. And like you said, still a very respectable result. Unfortunately, the win con was just a little bit too difficult here. But fantastic plays from Merch and a great job. Very commendable to come out here despite that win con, as I said, and going for the 4K too. So going into the next set, I think that Invictus is definitely feeling very, very confident. However, definitely do not count Mercy out, as we've seen throughout the league. They are a very, very good team.
Yeah, Mercy definitely do have the ability to bounce back. We will take a quick break as we set up the next side. Will Invictus continue their win streak and go 7-0 in the group stage, or can Mercy be the one team to bring them down? Stick around. We will be right back. Welcome back everyone to the Ashen Trial Season 1. We are continuing our group stage matchup of Mercy versus Invictus. Last time we left off, Invictus managed to secure a clean win on the Dredge sets. Now we have swapped to a different killer. We are now on the Ghoul. Merc on the side of Mercy against the Invictus survivors. I'm your caster Monarch. I am joined by Emerald, and we are starting off on a very, very fast note. Merc immediately using the Kagune leap to get the drop onto Pedro, immediately tagged with the Mark. Now 3 tokens at his disposal. 1 token, not going to dispense the second one. Pedro just going to keep running with the W key, moving along. Merc now has all 3 tokens at his disposal. 1 token, 2 token, not going to be enough to get the down. And now Pedro can make it all the way back down to the lower pallet. This has been a very fast start. I haven't even gotten to transition to Emerald. Emerald, what are your thoughts on this matchup? Oh my god, we're going again.
We're jumping all over the place with our Ghoul here. A map that definitely has the potential to show some great skill expression. I've casted a few of the Ghoul matches here for Ashen Trials so far, and they've all been super exciting, really, really fun, fast-paced set. We're going to be taking our chase onto Nightlight here, getting another injury. I think there's one particular perk here that is fascinating to see. And this is one of those maps that would probably, give you some value from All Shaking Thunder, which is super interesting to see, especially when there's a lot of opportunity for perks like perhaps Turn Back the Clock that we've seen before from some ghouls. But going with All Shaking Thunder just because that levitation that's on this map, let's see if it goes in Merch's favor, or if maybe they should have brought something a little bit more aggressive with Slow Down. But we're going to get our down here on to Shack. We're going to play for basement here on Nightlight. We do hear the All Shaking Thunder sound effect there. So I wonder if the survivors are queued into that. But definitely feeling really confident, I think, Invictus going into the set, especially after such a dominant performance in the previous match. So I think that they are going to be feeling good here.
Yeah, absolutely. We were seeing a lot of. I've actually noticed a ton of people opting into All Shaking Thunder on the Ormond Lake Mine due to how easy it is to trigger the elevation thanks to the main building. So it is a pretty common choice, actually. Now we're getting chased onto Nightlight. Oh, Merch really wish he had that All Shaking Thunder. Pedro's just in his face. Pedro, what are you doing, man? That's a ghoul on the gen. You can't be working that kind of stuff. This is absolutely some kind of workplace violation. Imagine just clocking into work and just be a ghoul standing right in front of you. Gen pops in the distance as Mercs now is thrown for a bit of a loop. Had a chase onto Nightlight. A bunch of people injured across the board, but you are playing Ghoul. It's nothing really special. Found Nightlight once again. Have forced to drop the pallet right in Merc's face. Merc has only 2 Kagune leaps this time. 1 token dispensed. Nightlight sending it through the vault. Is that enough distance to block the M1 from Merc? It doesn't seem like it. Can't make the window a second time around as we get down on to Nightlight with the eruption proccing on Shack now. 1 survivor on Death Hook now with 4 gens left. Finally hunting for a first pain risk token of the game. And Mert is in a pretty good position overall. Has a bit of a tight 3-gen in this bottom corner-ish that he could play around. Oh, that's a gen with so much progress on it. But Mert now has interrupted it, and now it's just a matter of trying to find who is working. The culprit has been found. Rocket, now all of Invictus is injured, but once again, it is a goal set, nothing to write home about, and that's just going to be it for Mert. Now finally has the 3 tokens at his disposal.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you mentioned, sort of the gen setup. You know, RNG, as was also mentioned in the previous trial on Midwich, is definitely something to consider when you're bringing a perk like Scorch Hook Pain Res, but if Merch is able to play this right, he's got a lot of Pain Res hooks sort of around these almost a 4-gen with the Shack gen included as well, if you a little bit loosely, but definitely so. And if he's able to get those downs in that area, then definitely going to be able to use those pain reses to their strength there to stop the gens. So I think that that's definitely something to keep in mind here. 3 gens left. We might see some progress in other gens, but yeah, I was going to say we're probably going to see one more pop. But still a pretty decent tunnel out here. It's going to be...
Oh, another.
Oh, but we see the 4th gen pop, and these survivors are just extremely efficient now. Great, solid setup here, but in the 3v1, it's a little bit more difficult, especially against experienced survivors.
Yeah, especially. And Invictus has a couple things they can do. That's going to be a reset onto Dan. Not going to quite matter in the end. Chase onto Rocket. Broken now. Has a pallet to play around. The hill pallet is a lot stronger than you think, but Merc just runs right through it. It's going to be a down onto Rocket. Invictus have a couple ways they want to play around this. They could slow the pace of the game down just a little bit to try and really push through these gens, or they could just try and blitz through a gen if they have enough progress. Both Rocket going down now and a pain resonance nearby. It does seem like Invictus should probably slow down the pace just a little bit. Nightlight dying on that hook, unfortunately, renders that pain res out of commission for just a tiny bit of time. Would have been a perfect time to get a pain res on the board, but instead Merc going to opt for a normal hook now, as he's just trying to look for someone nearby. Sees running in the distance. Does he commit onto this though? Pallet dropped in his face. Vault through. Has one more token left. Can he get the bite onto Dan the man? Yes, he can. Merc now in the enraged state, has all 3 tokens at his disposal. Who does he go after? Does he go back to the hook, or does he try and claim a couple fresh hooks? It's looking like going back to the hook is the play, but without Ruin in play, it's going to make this 3v1 a lot harder to try and pressure for Merc.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely possible, though. I really like the Eruption play, because especially down in these last few gens with a killer that can get around and get downs relatively fast, that Eruption's really going to come in key here. So definitely want to be paying attention to that gen. Attempting the sort of mini coup with All Shaking Thunder there onto Rocket, but feeling a little bit worried about the gen progress here on 11. So going back to get a potential down here onto Pedro. That hook placement was really great, really well chosen from Merch. It was as it was in the middle of all the gens in a way. Losing the 50-50 there away, and we're going to see it down. Do we see a pain res here? This could be very important, as Dan is likely on one of those gens closer to 7. Pain res is within reach. I wonder how much progress Dan has gotten here, but we're going to get another fresh hook onto Pedro. Going to use our stack. We still have a stack on Rocket. We still have 2 stacks. We still have potential here. And it doesn't look like a lot of progress actually has been made here on 7. So we might be playing for our Eruption, choosing not to kick instead, trying to potentially find a reset. As you mentioned, the survivors may be trying to take it a little bit more slowly here. And I think that Merch has an idea of that and is trying to find that reset. We did know that there was a crow landing. A little bit of blood over at 7, so we know that one survivor may be on the sort of 3 Shack side potentially, and we did see last we saw Rocket was closer to main, and there it is. In fact, we do see the survivor around Shack, and we're going to be taking the chase on the Dan here, our last fresh.
It's on to Dan now, round Shack. Dan the man has a plan to get his team out of a can, but Merc Doesn't seem to actually really want to commit onto this chase, however. Does have all the tokens at disposal. 1 token, 2 token, 3. Can't quite get the cutoff onto Dan, but is it enough time to recover the M1? Yes, it is. And now Rocket is the last one standing for Invictus. Invictus is slowly but surely bleeding out, but that's going to be the last gem popping during Dan's chase that will secure all 5 gens for Invictus. Mert seemingly is going to find Rocket pretty easily now. There's only so many places that Rocket can be around the map. Now you know the gen was popped. It's only a matter of time until Mert finds it. This will look like a 4K0, but that just goes to show you how incredibly efficient Invictus is. For most teams, this will be a 4K1, even 4K2, but for Invictus, their efficiency, gen efficiency is off the charts. It sounds like I'm glazing Invictus. This is just an Invictus glaze session, but I mean, getting that last gen popped is a pretty big deal.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you were right to glaze them in this situation because their efficiency is great. You know, there was Dan the man with the plan, green eggs and ham. He said those gens you must slam, and that is exactly what Rocket did, and he slammed that gen at 11, and they were able to pop it. So that is going to really come down with a set like this with a powerful killer. You're usually looking at 4K1, 4K2, those kinds of things. Those last couple of gens, this could really make a difference for the win con. We do see a little bit of gen progress on there with Pedro. I wonder if Pedro was attempting to try and go for the gen. If Rocket lasted a little bit longer, it's possible that they could have gotten outs, but absolutely no dig at Rocket. We know Rocket is a phenomenal survivor, so absolutely great job to get the 4K0, and we're likely going to see our last chase here. We may be seeing a pickup, but otherwise it's just going to be sort of delaying the inevitable. And we do get the pickup on it then, but we're going to see, as you mentioned, likely a 4K0 here.
4K0 indeed, just playing around a little bit. It does seem, unless like Invictus can pull a miracle, it doesn't seem like Dan is able to get both his teammates up, so this will just be a 4K0. But even then, that sets a very easy win. That sets up a win condition for Mercy that's very easy to understand. They need to pop all 5 gens and get any stages out, and that will be given as a win. If not, then it'll be a tie or giving Invictus the win. And Dan is still in chase somehow. This is actually insane. Now, the tokens are no longer played. They're going to get Pedro up now. Okay, Pedro's going to just go down again. All of Invictus is now around the shack. This is so... What is going on? This is a day at this... This is a day at the circus, and we're all just clowns.
We are playing Ring Around the Rosie, and yet another...
Oh my god, he had Sprint Burst up.
And he had Sprint Burst. I think these Invictus players are actually potentially playing for an out here, which is just absolutely, but it's outstanding to see that.
I mean, the gate does have progress.
Yeah, the gate over at 9 sort of has a little bit of progress. I'm not sure about the other one. I don't believe it does, but Merch is a little tired of this game. He's like, all right, you know what? I'm getting rid of Pedro here. I'm tired of this. We need to get on. Rocket doing their best to last a little bit, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be enough to get the gate there and shack open. But certainly a valid attempt at not giving up here from Invictus. And once again, Dan is back in the spotlight for the chase. And
finally gonna go down, Jesus.
But I do really want to commend Merch here because this is still a pretty solid result and a great job against phenomenal survivors.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, that leaves the condition in front of Mercy ahead of them very simple. Get any stages out of the gate and that will give you the win. Otherwise, this will be Invictus claiming the 2-0 and claiming the flawless sweep of the group stage. So stick around. We will be right back.
And we are back with week 7 of Ashen Trials group stage match between Invictus and Mercy. We have Pedro on the goal for Invictus. The win con for the survivors of Mercy is get any stages out the door, as we saw a fantastic 4K performance, a 4K0 performance specifically from Merch in the previous match. Taking our first chase on to main here on out, a very, very early chase, and we're going to get the bite pretty early on. We do see our survivors getting on other gens.
At the bite of 87.
Oh my gosh. A great reference from my co-caster, Monarch. My name is Emerald Monarch. Do you think Mercy can take the set back into their hands here?
It's going to be a really long upward battle, but that's going to help a lot. Mercy has to play so efficiently with their gens. They need to last long enough in chase to get these gens done. They need the best death spots possible. Outer right now doing a best job. Outer at the outskirts of the map right now, just trying to last as long as possible. Pedro does have the enraged state. I mean, they have one token. They have 3 tokens at disposable. 1 token sent out. Another token's not going to hit with the slow ball coming out from Outer. Outer doing an insane job right now. And right now, it's working. Another M1 is not going to connect. Pedro is forced to break this pallet. Outer is working with a rock in a cave, and is still managing to buy as much time as possible for Mercy. Fakes the one-way against Pedro. This will be the down of Outer eventually. And now, if you're Pedro, you know that lasted kind of a long time. Do you go for the pain res or you try and slug? You're gonna go for a pain res, but the pain reses are kind of in our position. Actually, no, that pain res in the main building is quite strong, actually. And I would like to note...
No.
And I would like to note that last time, Merc opted into all Shaking Thunder, which is something that we've seen a lot of popularity gain on this map specifically. But now, Pedro decided for... Oh, well, first off, to get hit by Champion of Light Blast Mine. That's unfortunate. But the second thing he's opted into is Forced Penance, which I think is an interesting choice in this set.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about Forced Penance, to be honest with you, because, I mean, and not that I'm, once again, digging at Pedro, who's a far better killing player than I am, so definitely not doing that. But I do think that with a character like Ghoul, you're going to have a lot of injured survivors anyway, and I don't know if they're going to opt to heal a lot of the time. So maybe just getting it in there to guarantee that those survivors stay injured when they come in for body blocks. But it's certainly an interesting pick. I think it's a very interesting pick from both sides, the All Shaking Thunder and the Force Penance, when once again, there are a lot of opportunities for other kinds of slowdown perks. But definitely, if there's anybody that can make it work, it's Pedro, and we will see if he can do so. We're going to take a Kagune bite onto Bandit here. We do see a lot of progress on that sort of mid-10, mid-9 gen. We see Life coming through here. We're going to try to make it to Shack, but we get the stun. Great game sense there to know that they're going to go right for the stun there. And we're playing for the body block into the pallet. As you were saying, these chases are phenomenal from Mercy, and this is exactly what they need to get this win con here. You could tell that they've been practicing. You could tell that they're very confident in this particular set.
Yeah, for anyone in chat who has never seen Tokyo Ghoul, ghouls are these creatures who feed on not only humans, but also pallet stuns in their natural diet. Pedro taking 2 in a row, gonna get the body block onto Bandit before he can reach the window. So that is incredible use of the Kagune leaps coming out from Pedro. Did have a couple of the daily pallet stun supplements, but we'll get the down in the end. That's gonna be another pain res coming out. 2 gens remaining. We walked into this kind of expecting Invictus to take home the set pretty easily with the win condition, but it's kind of looking pretty doable for Mercy. They just need to not take their gas off the pedal, keep the pressure going, keep the momentum going, keep chasers up and running, and I think they might be able to actually get the stages out. Pedro gonna be chased onto Tai Lion. The Lion does not concern himself with getting the gen done. The Lion only concerns with lasting longer in chase, but the Lion will fall today. It's gonna be an eruption proc in the distance.
Okay. The Lion does not concern himself with the rusted hook, the Lion has received his tetanus shot well ahead of time. But the Lion is going to be pain res hooked here, so we're going to see that most progress generator on main get regress there a little bit. So Pedro taking it a little bit back into their hands. I believe we did see an eruption proc because the perk is currently on cooldown, giving it the sort of tap there, just patting the generator. It's going to be okay. Maybe you'll pop, maybe you won't. But we are going to get that eruption in. Unfortunately, not getting the full injury there on that bite, and we're going to go look at a gen here at 11, potentially for some progress.
What I really appreciate about Mercy's gameplay right now is the gens they've decided to pop so far. They've popped gens in a way that there's not really a dedicated 3-gen setup, and that's going to make a difference, especially for a killer like Ghoul, who has a lot of mobility. But if you force the gens to be as far away from each other as possible, the Ghoul needs to expend more tokens to check up on the gens at all. So getting a really you know, far spread is incredible. It's gonna be another gen popping in the distance. Pedro doesn't have a death hook quite yet. There's gonna be a chase onto Merc. Merc, the last healthy, fresh stage survivor left. Pedro right now kind of spreading their hooks pretty evenly, but you only have one gen left. Painrez does delay the inevitable, but you kind of need a little bit more than that. Mert gonna be able to take the vault. Pedro swinging at the tarps on the outside, much like any New York City resident. He hates the scaffolding right here. Chase onto Mert. That's just gonna be a gen pop. Last gen pops. Pedro swinging at demons now, and Mercy have a very easy way to continue this game going.
I mean, it seemed like it's a completely different, like, universe that we just I believe Doctor Strange just opened a portal and we're in something completely new. Not that the survivors were bad, of course, in the first set. That's not all what I mean. But what I mean is that they just completely turned things around for the set. Like you said, we were thinking that Invictus as a team that's undefeated. Oh!
The blind!
Oh!
Where did that even come from?
This Survivor team is just doing everything that they could possibly do perfectly. I mean, every little moment, every loop, every 50, every flashlight sandwich that we've seen, every rotation, every chase has just been perfect for them to get this win con. As we see the open gate, we're definitely going to get some outs, and Mercy's going to take this set. What a miraculous, you know, reinvigoration for this team. Fantastic job.
Absolutely. Mercy are not going down without a fight. They want to stay in Invictus. You want to take this group stage 7-0. You want to go flawless. You're going to have to do a little better than that. So now stick around. We go to tiebreaker. Invictus's flawless group stage win streak is now on the line as we move over to the mastermind. So stick around. We will be right back for the conclusion of this group stage match.
7 minutes is all I can spare to play with you.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Ashen Trial Season 1. We are at the, what could be the conclusion of, will be the conclusion, sorry, at the tiebreaker of our group stage matchup of Mercy versus Invictus. The teams are now tied up 1-1, and we have moved on to our last killer, the Mastermind, with only 7 minutes to spare. This is going to be a tight race. Recast Monica. I'm joined by Emerald. We are starting off strong. Pedro getting the opening hit on to Outer, sending Outer running for the wind back to Shaq. Drop pallet Shaq in. Pallet dropped in his face. A very strong resource out of the game pretty fast, and now Outer doesn't have a lot of options. Outer sticking to the outer edges of the map to try and delay it down as long as possible, but it doesn't seem like any resources are available for him. Tries to make it back to the original pilot. Got launched on. One drill inbound. Two is gonna seal the deal onto Outer. And Emerald, what do you think about this matchup, especially with Pedro being the one on the Mastermind?
Well, I'm very excited. You know, we've seen Pedro on the Mastermind quite a lot, so we know we're definitely in for some spicy plays, and just knowing exactly the hitboxes there, as we saw on that hit, Pedro knows exactly where to slide off of and where to kind of potentially, you know, Euro slide or I forgot the exact term for what do you do when you skinny bird, I believe is what it's called when you go through objects with the with Wesker here. Definitely going to be looking forward to those plays. Wesker is a character that I love myself, so super excited. What is interesting to see is the choice of Pop Eruption Pain Res here. Sometimes you'll see agitation, sometimes you'll see Brutal Strength, which many believe is a perk that was built for Wesker. Definitely with his power and being able to viral and bound after breaking pallets there. But we get a pretty quick hook, and we're also going to see the tunnel out happen as expected here in this Wesker set onto Outer here at the bottom side. We have a really, wow, fantastic Euro bend there, or Uru bend. Really disgusting setup of gens here at the top side.
Yeah, absolutely. There's about a 5-gen topside. Well, okay, I don't know if you want to count the mid-gen as a part of the gen setup, but even if you don't count it, that's still a 4-gen on the top side. The Mercy Survivors really need to try their best to break through this setup, but Pedro has the right perk spread needed. Pain Res, which would then chain into a Pop Goes the Weasel, which again, go over to a gen, apply. Then you have Eruption on that gen, so then the next time you down someone, then the Eruption is going to proc, and then you get the Pain Res as well. There's a reason why these perks are brought in tandem. There are 3 perks that synergize absolutely incredibly with each other, almost getting the body block onto Merc. Ain't no way.
And potentially
Merc,
going for it, yeah.
just trapping Pedro just trapping Merc in the corner. And now Outer is just dying on the hook. Now this is the Pedro that we expected to come play.
Definitely, and I like that he went for the, as I was just sort of commenting on there, I love the fact that he went for the bound there instead of just taking the M1, just to kind of get that infection on there and maybe waste a little bit more resources. We're going to see the body block come in here. Does get the grab into the men status, but opting to go instead for the fresh hook. I think it's because maybe he doesn't want to. Oh, a great life play there from Bandit, but I think it's possibly because he doesn't want to play main, which can be a really, really difficult loop for Wesker, especially around those little corners and weird objects in the cars and stuff. But we're going to get another down here, and once again, this is not where the survivors want to be going down, especially in this setup. They were able to pop one gen, but we've still got these 4 gens up here.
Yeah, still dying within the 3-gen setup is not going to be a 4-gen setup. It's not going to be a great thing, especially when Outer is also here, and Outer gets body blocked with the window. No, it's not going to be. The Wesker actually loses collision. The Lion does not concern himself with the body block. Wrong player, I know. But now Outer in chase has a bit of a skinny bet. Oh, gonna hit the Euro skinny bet. Too many Wesker techs. Can Wesker players please develop techs that have normal names for once? But no matter what that was called, I'm just going to call it a down. And the survivor out of the game. Outer now out of the game. 3 members of Mercy left standing, and that might be another one joining the ranks soon enough, but no, Bandit will not be tagged.
Wow, what a fantastic slide off of the pallet there. Great timing. I mean, this is what I'm talking about when we're coming into the match with Pedro on the Wesker. This is exactly what we expect. This is what we love to see, and we are absolutely thrilled to be here casting this match. A very, very, very good tunnel out. You know, Wesker, as much as he loves to think, you know, he is the mastermind of the world, he's not exactly a very strong killer. So getting this tunnel out at 3 gens is a great place to be in for the killer. And we've still got an injury, and we find merged here going into main. Will Pedro decide to take the chase? He will, and not able to cut them off completely at the window here. But I believe we already saw balanced if Merch does have balance. So we're going to get that down, and we're going to get a little bit of more eruption placed here and another pain res. So Pedro is sitting very, very pretty here.
Again, once again, this is just not the spot you want to be dying. They probably are working that bottom side gen on Shack, but that is the lone gen. It is an island of the other gens. It is like the little island of Jeju off the southern coast of Korea. It's kind of just there, but you still have the mainland to deal with. And oh, yo, look it up. Like, that's actually like the geography of Korea. It's just an island on the south, and that's kind of what this gen is like. It's separated from the rest of the game. Gonna go for a hit on the Thai Lion. The Lion does not concern himself with the hit. He will just send it through the pallet, but now that's gonna be a tag on the Thai Lion now. Bandit and Thai Lion, the only members of Mercy on their feet now. Gonna go for the Furious Bound, has it set up. Pedro, 1 bound, 2 bound, that's gonna get the tag on to Thai Lion, and a Pain Resident took right on top of the hill. And once again, I'm really wondering why they are deciding to take these chases and matter of fact these downs on the top side when they know for a fact that these are the gens that matter more.
Yeah, no, certainly, I completely agree with that point. And thank you as well for the brief geography lesson there. That is definitely something that I think I didn't personally know. So thank you for that information. I do think that it's possible that their resources are maybe more on the top side. That's maybe possibly why they're going up there, because we did see a chase at Shack earlier. I can't quite remember if Shack was thrown, but it's possible that that's the case. And sometimes at this point, especially with such a high gen count and the amount of pressure that Pedro is, we just want to have chases that last at all. So even if they're maybe not in the right area, at least they're lasting a bit. But in general, yeah, like you said, it's not so much about how long they last, it's about where you die. But it's
not about how long it is, it's about how you use it.
Right, exactly. It's not about the destiny, or no, actually it is. It's not about the journey, guys. It is about the destination when it comes to Wesker. I'm sorry. It is. And something with Wesker that's very interesting that we saw there on that chase at 9 with Thai Lion, I believe, was the fact that there's a lot of situations, especially on this cold tower map that Wesker is often played on, where there's a lack of check spots because you can't quite check spot Wesker with his power because he might just come around the corner with a double bound. So definitely an interesting little gimmick that comes into play when Wesker is here on the cold tower.
You know what they say about Wesker? You know what they say about life in general? Everything has an end except bananas, which have two. That's going to be a hook onto Mert within the corner, kind of just isolated from everyone else, and that's going to be blocker grab on the Thai Lion. Pedro has the absolute best gaming headset in the entire world. Here's
Oh
Thai
my
Lion
gosh.
in the locker, and now it's up to Bandit. Bandit has the opportunity to steal this game away from Pedro, but needs to work a little bit of overtime here. Needs to get either Merc or Thai Lion off the hook. Not sure which one to go for first, though. Might be Merc, considering that Merc's timer is going down lower. However, there's going to be a hook onto Thai Lion just right in front of Pedro's face, and now Thai Lion is back in chase. Bandit now, they both kind of are concerning themselves with getting the unhook onto Merc. Pedro gonna go for Thai Lion. Does stall just long enough. Can Bandit even make it in time for Merc's hook? Bandit, we saw Bandit run past. Merc is gonna die on hook before Bandit can even get there. No, at the last second, Merc is pulled off the hook.
Wow, that was very last second. I really respect Pedro as well for going for that play. He could have just gone for the predictable sort of straightforward bound, but he went for the sort of diagonal play, going for it again here, but missing. You know, normally the lion does not hide. The lion reveals himself to the sheep, but the lion was found in the locker, and unfortunately that may be a very crucial play, but dodging the viral inbounds here, really, this is exactly what the survivors need. Once again, we saw that they are definitely able to come in clutch when it comes to the plays that they need. We saw that in the Ghoul set, and we're seeing it again here in this particular chase with Thai Line. A little bit of pressure here on the mid-gen. I think right now you're in a tough situation. You either want to take it slow, maybe do a reset between Merch and Thai Line on the bottom side away from those generators, again, like we've been saying, or you want to just crank out one gen, maybe double, maybe 3 split to just get that 4K1.
Yeah, we are going to see a full infection onto Thai Lion now, which does mean this is one of Wesker's biggest strengths, actually, is the infection. Not much of chase, although it is a bit dangerous in chase. We can see here Thai Lion actually has the opportunity to get fully grabbed because of the full infection. I might be the worst DPD caster of all time. I was about to say that the infection doesn't matter in chase, but we just saw it matter. But more importantly, it gives information to the Wesker player on where people are. People need to cleanse it eventually. You can't just ignore it the entire game. As we saw with Thai Lion got the full infections just fully grabbed from the healthy state. Bandit just ore farming, walking right towards Pedro. I think they kind of realized that this game is kind of over. 4K2 seems to be the end of the road for Mercy. But Bandit fakes the one-way, forces Pedro to crash his head right into a rock. That's going to cause concussive damage. Can we get a medical team on the way to check Pedro's head? It's going to be a down onto Bandit. Actually, matter of fact, if we're getting a medical team, let's get a medical team check up on everyone. I just realized, like, All-Star has been stabbed this whole time. I just realized what game I was watching.
Yeah, I was gonna say that there's something called Ouroboros that is currently, you know, going through Merch's veins right now, and I don't think that's a very healthy thing.
Well, in every Resident Evil game, as long as they find like a green herb and a red herb, and they just sort of crush it together, that heals like everything.
True. But Merch is going to be taking that last chase with the hindrance, as you mentioned there. We're doing a little dance here. As you said, we're kind of realizing that this is pretty much over here. Can we see a 1v1 in chat, guys? Let's see. Probably not.
Well, they can't hear us, so our request will fall to deaf ears. Right now, Mert is doing the hidden dance of his people to try and seduce Pedro, but it doesn't seem like it's working. As we get down for Mert, then it's going to secure the 4K2 for Invictus. So now the win condition going in for Mercy's killer says a 4K3 on Wesker. That's kind of a brutal win condition to leave your killer with.
No, definitely. I would definitely be feeling nervous. And like we said at the very beginning of the game, we were looking for Pedro to come out full, no stops, you know, or full stops. I don't exactly know what the saying is. I'm going to be completely honest with you. But, you know, coming out here doing all that you can on the Wesker that we've seen so many times, and that is exactly what we were delivered. What a fantastic game to cast. And we are back here on the comp tower. We've been seeing a lot of the comp tower here, but players are very used to this map and fans love it. We have got Mercy versus Invictus here on the Wesker. The win con was set at 4K3 here for Merched. We'll see if he can do it in 7 minutes because he's got Chris Redfield on the survivor side. So let's see if he can spread Ouroboros, Chris. My name is Emerald, and I am joined, of course, by Monarch, as I have been for these last couple matches. Pedro absolutely dominated on the last trial here, but we see a potential first, very quick down here for Merge, so I think it's anyone's game. Are you excited, Monarch? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how it's played. Getting those like early, like not just hits, but also like the throws in general. Those are super impressive to get. Like the Wesker's ability to just throw people is honestly like one of the strongest bits of his kit. We are gonna see a chase on the Pedro around the T of the T and L. Only 2 tokens charged up, 1 Valorant bounce, not gonna be enough to close the distance. The second is just gonna drag him back to where Nightlight went down. But can we find the Nightlight? Yes, we can, but it is completely under a pallet. Someone could be near for the palisade. We're gonna see footsteps going by, but Rocket is not fast enough, and also Pedro is flanking on the other side as well. That was almost about to be a Jill sandwich, minus the Jill plus the Wesker.
Wow, fantastic reference there. But we do see a lot of progress. Dan has gotten a good amount of progress on one of those gens. We're not seeing as much of a ridiculous setup here for Merch as Pedro did have here on the top side, but we're seeing a little bit more of a little bit of pallets and stuff here in the middle as well. So RNG sort of working on Invictus' side here. We're going to drop the pallet here, excuse me, at the back of main. I do really like the brutal strength here. I forgot the name of the perk for a second there. Brutal strength pick here on Wesker. As we said earlier, it's just very much seems like it's meant for this killer. Just get those fast breaks and into those chases as soon as possible. Let's see if it works out for them, though.
This is such an unserious matchup. Why is Dan spectating the chase? Why is Dan being a voyeur of the Wesker chase happening in main? This is not okay. We're gonna see it continuing the chase onto Nightlight. Nightlight has been using this palette for as long as like a very long period of time. I'm out of metaphors to use at this point. We're gonna get a slam onto Dan. Dan running away to the T and L. Hassle L to play around. Firecracker draw out the feet. 1 virulent bound. 2 not quite gonna catch that. Dan playing Chris Redfield has the absolute aura and the plot armor to survive Albert Wesker, which he canonically does in the hit video game Resident Evil 5, made by Captain. Okay, no, never mind. He's dead.
Well, we're going to experience a little bit of spoilers from Resident Evil 5, but don't worry. I mean,
the game's released in 2009. Cut me some slack.
You do not expect the main character to die on that one, of course. But we are going to see a pain res here. We've got We've got a lot of progress here on the gen that Pedro is working on. We see a potential rotation. I'm not sure if, yes, we do in fact see that Pedro is here on the gen at 10. We're going to take the chase here, but yeah, I mean, I think that Dan was, in fact, spectating a lot of that chase, but they were just delaying that down as much as possible, and I wonder if that's going to come into play. It was a very interesting choice for the killer Merch to take that chase at main, as I was mentioning in the previous trial. It's just a really, really rough place for Wesker to chase and to loop, especially with those pallets, especially when you're not breaking pallets, and Merch decided not to break the pallet, actually, even though he had Brutal, which may have helped him a little bit more if he had broken that, just to sort of prevent them from just Nightlight from continuously looping.
Yeah, absolutely. There we saw Nightlight just continue to abuse that window over and over again. And Mert, only thing he could do is just catch up eventually with the virulent bounds, but that took a long time, and it took like 3 people even. And Nightlight didn't even go down in the end. Pedro so close to popping another gen. We're at 3 gens now. Another gen popping will mean that Mercy can only get the win con, but the Tycon is still in the air, but Rocket doing the best. Spanish bull where you have the bull in front of you and the red flag behind to distract the bull. I forgot the name of it, but doing the best Matador impression. Oh my god, my brain is not working, but Mercs Virulent Bound definitely is, catching immediately up back to Chris Redfield, the arch nemesis of Wesker. Has a Rockfield to play around. That's going to be his last gen popping that they need to secure the Tycon at least. 2 Virulent Bounds is all going to take. Uh, down goes Chris Redfield. The Redfield bloodline shall not continue today. 3 survivors remain for Invictus, and we're looking at the gem spread a little bit. It's a little awkward. It's pretty spread out. It doesn't seem like Merc really has a game. If Invictus pop one more gen, that's going to be wraps, and that will give Invictus the flawless group stage, which I think a lot of people expected from Invictus, but even then, it's still impressive.
Yes, I was going to say that with this win, they will get the flawless victory, even though that is the wrong video game. That is, we are not watching Mortal Kombat, though we are
Oh, that's
watching
what that
General
was.
Combat. Yep. We are going to take the chase here on the Shack, and Pedro is probably going to, you know, pop that last generator. Our Jeff is taking a look at the Wesker. He's a very handsome man, so we're just gonna take a second there to look at those that stylish style.
Oh,
Oh, and that is just
no. We
that's
shut the
unlucky.
broadcast off.
Oh no, not the
Shut
point as well.
shut the broadcast off, delete the VOD, get lawyers in touch. We can't show this on live.
That is certainly unfortunate for Merch. Always not a very good feeling, and the head on
And
into
there's
it
head on and
too.
oh my god.
Now they're just rubbing it in a little bit here.
This has gotta be this has gotta be against the Geneva Convention. There's something in the Geneva Convention that says this isn't allowed, surely.
Attempting a hug tech, and though they actually did briefly get the hug tech to work a little bit there, sliding off of the box there. So you have to give Merch credit for knowing their Wesker details there. Gonna get the down here, you know, not unfortunately going to get the win, but I think at this point you gotta show what you've got and get as much as you can and play for best result.
See chase continuing on to Pedro. Pedro has the no longer has a pallet at their disposal. Is so weakened now. No more. Lots of resource gone. Only a window in tech and a little bit of scaffolding to play around. That's finally going to be a down onto Pedro, but that's going to be all 5 gens popping for Invictus in the time it took to get Pedro down. This is going to be interesting to see. Will Invictus just leave the trial, or will they even attempt to go for this? They honestly could. They have a gate kind of nearby Pedro's hook. It does seem like they're getting the reset onto a rocket. They could honestly posture and try and go for Pedro to try and get a little bit of honor and glory, but they could just go out the gates whenever they want. They have already won. This is just a victory lap.
I think given their previous track record and history, I think they might actually go for it. But however, that down or that injury there to Rocket might make it a little bit harder to go for the double save, because with a chase happening and 2 injuries, they're not going to be able to get the reset there. But they're still feeling pretty good about the win here. We're going to try and play for Rocket here, which is our fresh hook, which technically, you know, barring the win con, would technically be the right play to go for here, and another great sort of V-bound there to get Rocket down on the floor there, and we're going to take that as our last fresh hook. So, all things considered, playing against a team of such might, this is not a terrible result on the Wesker, especially those 4 hooks there. We might even get potentially another hook in here. We do have a couple of gates close, as you mentioned, but with at least 1 injury, if we find Nightlight, we may be able to potentially get another stage or 2 here.
And this also means that Invictus goes flawless in their group stage. So, yeah, shocker. Invictus are a good team. It took us 7 weeks to figure that out, but yeah, Invictus are a very strong team. They are looking like the team to beat, really, for any teams that are gunning for the championship. It's kind of, oh no, not again with the window.
A little
Invictus
nod
kinda,
to sort of
Invictus
accept it
are the
there.
team to beat. It seems like if you really want to contend for the top, they are going to be one of our strongest teams heading into the playoffs. As we're just sort of ending this match now. Pedro doing his best little distraction play. Rocket, Nightlight does end up getting the pull onto Rocket eventually. Pedro now out of the gate. Can Merc stop anyone else from getting out of the gate? We will see. It doesn't seem like they might just be heading for the other gate. They just get the reset onto Rocket now. Rocket fully healed. Nightlight, however,
Nightlight.
still deep in this corner. Nightlight having to run away. Unless Nightlight can chain the entire map together, which probably can. It doesn't seem like he can make it to another gate. Seems like Rocket is a pretty free way to get out. The footsteps are going one direction, back the other direction. Has the life near the edge of the map. Merch gonna get it right there, but the gate is so close to popping. Oh, but the grab is gonna come in. Rocket's gonna get grabbed off the hook, and now Merc's gonna drop in. Nightlight can't even get. That's just be the end for Invictus here. As we end Group B with Invictus standing above the rest, a flawless stage for them.
Very fantastic job from Invictus, showing confidence, showing power, just feeling in the element throughout each of these matches. But also great job to the team of Mercy here, also doing very, very good in their group and likely going to pass into the next stage, if not confirming that they will make it through. And we might see we might be giving Nightlight the exit gate. What a kind person Albert Wesker is. Holy cow. We never thought this would happen. We never thought that Wesker would ever show an inkling of kindness.
Yeah,
but
no, Wesker was actually really generous. He gave that small town in Africa a new bioweapon.
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
You donating the weapons that that small town in Africa really needed. So that will be it for us. I've been a cast of Monarch. I'm joined by Emerald. Emerald, thank you so much for joining me today on this cast.
Yes, thank you so much, Monarch, and thank you to everybody for watching. Once again, congratulations to both teams and everyone behind the scenes, the match admins and the moderators, and everyone behind Ashen Trials. Thank you once again for having us for such a wonderful time.
Will not be the end for today, as later on at 8 p.m. we do have another match, or we have a match to start the day as well. So stick around. This will not be the last of us today.
Get it? The Last of Us?